Well, hello everyone, it is Professor Oleander again, and today is sort of a bit of a special episode. This will be the 100th video that I've done on this channel, and I figured that I would go back into Run 8. I've actually played with this a little bit off and on for the past several days, and just been too busy to do videos. I was going to do one where I was just going to be running um, this train back down the hill, but I kind of decided I would talk a little bit in this one. I just haven't been in a very talkative mood. There's been a lot going on. It's one of the reasons why it's been a lot of time in between videos, but I figured I would knock this one out this morning because it should only take about an hour. So we've got, this is train number 571. We're on the South Fork Secondary, by the way, and we're getting this train up here from the Rosebud mine. It's already been filled up, and we're gonna send it back down the hill. So I want to go ahead and I'm just trying to get everything set up here. So let's go ahead and get him down to the get him down on the other side of that cut. Some of the things that have been going on, I haven't been playing. I haven't touched Railroader really since the last episode. I'm just kind of. It's not that I'm tired of it. I'm just kind of waiting for them to. It's it. It's been enough time in between updates that it's about time for them to start updating it again. So I just kind of stayed away from it because I didn't want to get used to it, one way or the other. But I've been thinking. When I got ready to, I've actually made this video before, but I threw it out just because I've gotten to where I just don't want to talk about a lot of stuff that, I won't say it's been bothering me, it's just been one of those things that's been on my mind. Just attitudes of people and whatnot. I've kind of turned blinders onto it now. I don't even pay attention. But just been a lot of stuff going on. Of course, it's kind of fortuitous that we're using Norfolk Southern today when they're in the middle of a. I guess if you want to talk about a hostile takeover with an investor group that it looks like they have they've kind of thrown some money around and done some politicking, and they've gotten some of the unions on their side to back this group that I don't necessarily think is in the best interest of Norfolk Southern. That's just my opinion. These guys, the ones that they're looking at bringing in, are basically, they want PSR. That's essentially what they want. They want to reduce the operating ratio. The only way you're going to reduce the operating ratio is you got to make some cuts somewhere, and labor is one of the things that usually ends up getting cut. They've already said that they're going to cut out, I forget how many locomotives, and that's going to end up being it's going to end up being employees after that. So the guys that are going to vote for it, they're going to probably going to end up out of the job. So crazy times. I thought for sure that it was going to get voted down, but now it looks like they've got the backing of probably enough unions that it may actually go through. It's what happens when investors run railroads, man. It's going to be an interesting time. I could go down into the conspiracy theories about what I think is driving this, and it has to go back with the man that refuses to die, Mr. Harrison. He tried to take over Norfolk Southern years ago and he failed, and one of his proteges is in this group, and I have a suspicion that I don't know. I I don't want to say it's an inside job, but I think I think there's a reason why they're trying to do this, and it's not 100% apparent to everybody right now. It's if what I'm thinking is correct, it's pretty much illegal. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out for them. I feel sorry for the guys because I know a few people that are working for NS right now. I feel sorry for the guys that are, you know, going to get caught up in all this. Oops. Oops, if I take the dynamics off. But that's enough of that. So one of the reasons why I chose to do Run 8 is this is actually... No, I didn't hit that. This is actually the first game that I played on this channel. Years and years ago, and I can't even remember. I think we were doing a local, so it's kind of only fitting that we do this one. We're gonna need a bunch of speed. Matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, let me kind of look. Yeah, I've just gotten to the point where I don't like doing talking videos anymore, and it's just because I run out of stuff to say, and I don't want to get down into drama. Stuff like that. Yeah, Local to Yermo was done 9 years ago. And I don't think I talked during that one either. I think I just did it. I haven't been on a train now in about 2 years. So this has been trying to remember everything. So yeah, 9 years this channel's been out, and I've been very sporadic in uploading things, and it's mainly just because of my schedule and all. In 9 years, I have worked up and down the East Coast. Let's see, Georgia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, back to North Carolina. 6 different states in 9 years. Most of that was in Georgia. The latter ones, which I think I've talked about this before. When I left Georgia, I was originally supposed to go to work in Pennsylvania, and I did for about 2 weeks. And we got shut down because of what was going on everywhere. So we got shut down, couldn't get any help from the state. It was like the worst timing ever. Had to cash out my 401k, and didn't really know what was going to end up happening because nobody knew how long everything was going to be shut down. Ended up the gentleman that I was working for in Pennsylvania, which was on a big locomotive, we were doing the restoration on one of the big boys. He contacted me and was like, "Hey, you want to come up here and help us finish this one?" And I was like, "Well, it took some convincing because we had on that particular setup, we weren't getting any kind of, it was a contractor job. We weren't going to get a per diem, which meant I was going to have to stay in a hotel, and I was going to be paying for that out of pocket. I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I can't make enough money to justify it. And they went back and forth talking about several things. We finally ended up coming to an agreement. So let's go ahead and let this relinquish this train. So we finally ended up coming to an agreement, and ended up working, I'm not going to say who it was. I think most people can figure it out. Went from a big boy to another articulated locomotive that everybody loves to talk about for whatever reason. So did that for a few years. Went through a lot in that, and I've thought about it before. I had to end up coming back to North Carolina, and here I am. But I did some work in Tennessee, stayed in Maryland and West Virginia for the better part of 3 years, and came back because the family was needing help. And I'd actually mentioned this, I don't remember how long ago it was, but I'd said that my dad had contracted, well, he was diagnosed with leukemia. This was last April 23. And he'd been undergoing chemo during that time. So from April on up into October. And in October, probably close to mid-October, we all got sick. We got sick with COVID. And he ended up getting sick with COVID. So he had to stop his treatment because they obviously can't give him treatment while he's sick like that. And so what ended up happening was they stopped his treatment. His whole ordeal. Actually, I need to close that. That's gonna monkey with what I got up front. This whole ordeal. There's no way to do this the way that I want to do it. So, this way. I'm gonna set this one as the beginning. Alright. This. That should fix that. Just trying to set these things up is a little difficult. I just want to make sure I got the EOT number right. Okay. To finish it out, he got COVID. We all got COVID. He had to go to the emergency room. Yeah, he actually ended up having to go back to UNC for a while. He was there for a week. They put him on in-home hospital. He was on that for another week. They released him on a Thursday from that. Basically, it's just a nurse would come by twice a day. They'd give him his meds. He had this whole thing where he had to show. It's like a iPad thing. Basically, have to show them what medicines he's taking, and they basically have to watch him and all that. He did that for a week. He got released on a Thursday. Friday, he was feeling better. He was still coughing, but he was up and around. Saturday, bedridden. Sunday, bedridden. He started getting delirious. His blood pressure was really weird. Called the ambulance. They got him. He almost went into cardiac arrest in the ambulance because his blood oxygen was getting so low, his blood pressure was getting so low. He was getting ready to arrest. Took him to the emergency room here. They had to get him stable, and then they airlifted him to UNC. And basically at UNC they figured out that the COVID had developed into pneumonia. He was up there for about a week. They were doing all this stuff. They had intubate him, and let's see. They did a chest X-ray. He had pretty severe pneumonia. He had a spot on one lung about the size of an orange, and that was all the good tissue he had left. And basically he was there for about a week, maybe a week and a half, and I was at work and I got the call and they said, hey, it was basically mom beside herself. She's like, hey, we gotta make the decision. I was like, what are you talking about? She says, I need you up here like now. So run up there, and it was his decision. He was conscious enough whenever the doctors were given all the options, and he had the option to, I can't remember what it was. Oh, they were gonna have to do a tracheostomy. They were basically gonna have to go into his windpipe, put a thing in his neck, so they could keep oxygen on him. That was the only way they could keep him alive. And they gave him the options, and he said no. And let's see, they pulled the tube out on a Thursday, and then he made it through that night. Into Friday, we were like, can we put him in hospice, because he was in the ICU. Put him in a hospice house. And he made it all day Saturday, and Sunday morning about 7 a.m. he passed away. So that was in November. So basically he made it what they gave his prognosis, which was basically, if he didn't do anything about his leukemia, he was going to be gone in 6 months, and he made it about 6 months. So that happened in November, and that's been one of the reasons why I've been kind of away, is because we've been kind of reeling from that. We're still trying to get all the pieces and everything sorted out from that, and one of the insurance companies has given us a runaround and trying to deal with that, and just the whole adjustment thing, because I've been having to help mom more and more because he's just gone. So that's been one of the big things that's been going on, and I just haven't, it's been playing into me not just having the inclination, and there's other stuff that's going on that I won't go into. So anyway, we have this train here, 571, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over so you can see this. This is dispatcher.net, and let me pull it up so that way I can deal with it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a track warrant. And I just realized you're not going to be able to see this. Oh well. Well, anyway, you'll see it whenever as I'm finishing it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a train. You're not going to be able to see what I'm doing, but trust me, it's happening. Actually, I need to do this over here. I'm going to create a train. There is a video floating around on this. I think Jonah made it, which he's the guy that did this whole spiel. So my train symbol is 571. The engine ID, this is Norfolk Southern NS 1181. And we are going to be headed north. Our EOT is way back here. Five 0777. 50777. And I didn't mention this, but this is a skin. I honestly can't remember what server I got this off of. It was sort of a bonus that someone had made. When I brought this train up here, I actually brought it with that one. The numbers are wrong because it's a Southern Pacific. It's got the Southern Pacific numbers, which I could go in and change it. I just haven't. Okay, EOT. His max speed, I believe, is 50. HPT. What is my HPT? .5. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. 2.5. And TOB. I'll get that in just a second. we're not going to worry about total horsepower. Or TBOP. We're not going to worry about that. OS times, composition. This train is 4,591. It is a total of 10992. We have 78 loads. 0 empties. Comments, the crew, the engineer is going to be me. And let me go back up there and see who my conductor is. Antonio Ipswich. And let me just make sure that's everything here. I guess I need to go ahead and get my TOB numbers. So let's see. We want alright, I'm gonna leave that one there. Actually, I'm gonna change that. I want that one there, and that one there. Okay. Does it give me a TOB? It does. 140. We are like right at the max on this one. We can't have higher than let me look before I tell you the wrong number. Let's see, user guide. I don't like this. There's some stuff that's in this that's not, I'm looking at the user guide for this one, and there is a restriction. We can't have more than, I think it's 142. Trains may not operate with more than 140 TOB. Okay, so we're right at 140 TOB. Retainers at both mines must be set at 50% of all cars to HP, which is high pressure release. And I'm debating on doing it because we have enough the thing that I don't like about this is that it's sort of hard to set all these, so I'm gonna roll the dice and not set them because there's no easy way to set these in bulk. So we're just gonna kind of go with it. And I just realized you're still looking at the screen there. So let me see if that is everything. And it is. Alright, so we're going to save that so you can see that I have all that information there. Good set. Oh, I didn't set that. It's 2.5. 2.5. There we go. So there's all the information that I put in, and I don't know why HPT is not saying anything. So what I need to do now is I need to set up a track warrant from here to here. And you're probably not going to see this either, so this will be to 571. And what time is it in game? It's 0846, so we're going to put this at 0830. By Oleander. We're going to give ourselves a track authority. Well, actually, we're not even going to worry about that one. We're just going to say proceed. And my read. You'll see it here in just a second. I'll do a screen capture of this one day, so that way you can actually see the videos. But there you go. That's my track warrant to go from basically right here where it says Rosebud. That's where we stop, and we have clearance all the way to JK. And that is all I need to do on that. Oops. So we can transition back here so you can see what I'm doing now. And essentially, we are ready to go. I'm going to keep this up just so I can see how much my get myself situated here. We'll open the window up a little bit so you can hear. And let's see, Independence full on. We should be charged. We can take that off. We're not moving, so that's a good sign. 20 miles an hour all the way down the hill. This is going to be interesting. So let's go ahead and start backing off on the... Matter of fact, we want to be... I don't know why that was in... Right, forward. Let's go ahead and get the dynamic set because we're going to need them. And start easing off until we get the EOT. And there's the EOT moving. Let everything get bunched up here. I don't know why we've got a cab signal. There's really no signals. This is all dark territory. That was the whole reason of showing you dispatcher.net. Basically, well, you're not going to be able to see because we're going to come out right here. This is where we are. We're down in here. These aces should be strong enough with all the dynamics running. And actually, I need to go ahead and change this one so that way I can make sure that the DPUs are doing what they need to do. These aces are strong enough. They have strong enough dynamics that we shouldn't need. Famous last words. We shouldn't really need to have the retainer set. I do want to try it one time with the retainers going. But, let's see, what else has been going on? I'm kind of debating on what to do, going forward with the channel, what videos I want to do, or if I even want to do them, because it's just me getting enough, motivation to do it has always been kind of a challenge just because there's so much stuff going on. And then I've got I have a certification coming up next week, or not next week, coming up towards the end of May that I've got to start studying for, which it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but it's a money thing. That's one of the things that's nice about this job is that when I came in, which would have been December of 22, basically I hit it where when I did my 6 months, I got a 5% bump, which is standard. And then I got in July, so my 6 month was in June, and then in July which is when they do their COLA adjustment. I'm sorry, I got my first certification, which was a 5% bump. Then I got my second 5% for probation. I got my second 5% bump which was for my 6 months. And then in July, we got a 7% COLA. It's the cost of living adjustment. That's across. We got a 7% COLA in July, and then basically go through all that into December. December, we ended up getting 2 bonuses, and then it was either January or February. They had done a salary study, and I got a bump out of that. I got a pretty sizable bump out of that one. Most of the people that I worked with did too. Which basically was just bringing everybody up to par on what the surrounding areas were paying. And then here next month, if I get my certification, my next certification, then that's another 5%. So it's been pretty decent. And then, once that goes through, the next one will be in July. So May, I would get my 5%, and then in July, they'll do their COLA, which whatever that ends up being. It's usually between 3 and 5%. So, last year I got like a 17% raise, and this year probably going to be closer to 10 or 12, depending. This is reminding me of running on the A line. There's like crossings everywhere. Trying not to. I'm gonna have to set up the fence. Okay, that should be the last one. I probably should set up my, probably should leave the mileposts on, because there's a place up here called Summit, and it's basically, once you get up that, then you start down the steep side. So this should be a climb all the way up to Summit. So yeah, I should get anywhere between 5 and 12% this year for raises and whatnot. But it's one of those things where I really do need to study for this one, because this is one of the harder ones. But it shouldn't be too bad. I haven't looked at it. We did our classes in October, I think. So yeah, I was doing that right in the middle of all that mess that was going on. If you've noticed, this is a different reshade than what I usually run with. I find that the one that I use for out west doesn't really work well with the foliage that's in the east. So there's one, this one I use in the west, or I'm sorry, this one I use in the east. This one's, I think, somebody named Coyote did this one, and it's on the Run 8 Enhancements Discord. The one that I made is the one that I use for out west because it's a lot more brown. But let's see. Somewhere I've got the grade map for this. Let me see if I can find it. It's not dead. Yeah, that's not it. So anyway, that's been the better part of what's been going on. Are we going to clip through the cab? Nope, we just missed it. That's been the better part of what's been going on. Just been so many things. There's scalp level. That's where we cut off. That should be lined for us to come out. Just been a lot of stuff going on. Did manage to get the garden planted. It's been colder in the morning, so some stuff is not doing as well as others, but man, everything has gotten so damn expensive now. Like, there's an egg shortage because of bird or avian flu. They've had to kill off a bunch of chickens because if one is sick, then basically every chicken that's been in contact with them is sick. So there's been like an egg shortage here, and then they were saying something about the dairy cows have something or other. They are they're being affected by the avian flu, even though they can't contract it. It's like present, so they're having to destroy milk. So the two things that have been like next to impossible to find here, and when you can find them, they're expensive, has been eggs and milk. And then you put that on top of everything else that's been going on as far as just the price of everything, and then what people are calling shrinkflation, which has been going on for years, but it seems like it's a lot more prevalent than it used to be. And I actually noticed it the other day, the little Reese's Cups things. The package didn't change, but the cup did. And it's like a third of the size that it was, but it's like the price of them didn't change. And it's like, man, I've gotten so tired of $100 at the grocery store, not even buying 2 bags. And I was like, I've been fortunate because my wages have been pretty steadily going up, and that's one of the nice things about working for the government, is that that stuff comes up pretty regularly, and then I've got benefits and all on top of that make it a lot more worthwhile. But man, I feel it for people that are still working in the private sector, because it's like, if you're not working for an employer that's regularly going through and adjusting pay and compensation and stuff like that, I know a lot of people that are struggling. But that's the nice thing about us, is that where I'm at, they have a budget thing every year, and it's basically a lot of the stuff is figured into it, and it goes through a ratification process and then an approval. So it's not one person. It's not like a business owner that's saying, well, we can't do it because of XYZ. It's pretty much it's into the tax budget as far as employee raises and whatnot. It's down to a science. That's why it's easy for us to get, I say easy, we don't get regular raises, even though they are somewhat performance based. The thing that rolls in our favor is you're going to get a raise regardless. How much of that raise, what percentage of it you get, is really based off of how your evaluation goes. So, like, if the maximum was, let's see, if they came up and they said, okay, the maximum is a 5% pay increase, and when they do your review or your evaluation, whatever you want to call it, oh, they're slipping. When they do what's the break? This has been a bug that's been like persistent for some reason. When they do the pay increase, when they do your review, if we were supposed to get 5% and your review only, it's weird how they do it, but basically if you don't score high enough on your review, you only get like 3% instead of that. That's sort of how it's set up. It's not exact, but I mean, it's not an overly critical thing either. I don't know anybody that's not been able to get the full whatever they approve. Well, they've got a couple hours worth of sand, so I'm not too worried about it as long as he's not slipping. Just make sure. I do have slippery conditions set, I think. What is it under? Under controls. It's under train. Realistic train handling. There's one, it's called slippery rail. There it is. Allow slippery rails. Okay. I'm actually curious now. They're not slipping. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't slipping. Let's see, what milepost did we just go past? 13. So let me go over on dispatcher and I'll do a thing where I can oops. I'm rolling up my track warrant, and I'll show it again whenever I get there. Let's see. There we go. I'll show you the next time that I roll up the warrant. We'll do it when I get to 10. This is actually the first time that I've gone this way on this route. It seems like the climb out is a lot. This portion is a lot longer than the climb in. So like when you're heading up to, when you're going towards the mine, it's like a steep climb out, and then it drops. And I'm trying to remember what place Summit is. Matter of fact, I might be able to pull it up on the depot server. Summit Station, 9.5. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So Summit Station's 9.5. That's when we start downhill, and that's when things get a little interesting. And then once we get down to JK, I've got to decide where I want to put this train. And while I'm thinking about it, let me just kind of see what's running. It's actually fairly quiet. I don't have any trains running over the route right now. So while I'm thinking about it, let me look. Yeah, no trains. 10 minutes. That was 12 hours. And I know they spawn out because they've done it before. Let's look again. Maybe we weren't, or we won't, but we'll see. Bedford Lake. So I haven't talked about this because I haven't been on this route. I've been up in this area before. I've been over to the Everett Railroad. I've actually rode on their train, which their part of their right-of-way is in-game. Their engine shed's there, their depot is there. Some of the stuff is not modeled though. They're right beside the little NS yard there. It's when I see Bedford, it's like I know where Bedford is. I haven't been to Bedford, but I've been in that general area. I haven't been up to Altoona, but I've been to Hollidaysburg. It's an interesting. This whole area is interesting. I need to get back up there again and kind of look around. I'm supposed to be going back up to Gettysburg in October, I think is when. I don't know if I'm going to get to go or not. We'll try and go to a couple different places while I'm there. Okay, so let me do this. Let me switch you over for a second. So we just passed Milepost 11. So we are in this block right here. So what I want to do is I want to roll up this one, and then I have to say this is correct. Yes, that is correct. There you see, it moves us forward. So it's one of the nice things that's about this. This is actually the first time that I've done it on this one. All of this is dark territory, and there's another one. I can't remember what district it is, but it's dark territory. And Jonah, who's one of the main designers of this application, made it so that you can do these track warrants, and so I can roll up my track warrants so that I can have another train behind me, and I can clear up to a certain point. Basically, the way that this is blocked out is every mile section is a block, and you can clear so that if there is a train behind you, you can clear up for that. So I've been tinkering around with that one here for the past couple days. I finally figured out how to get track warrants to work. Alright, so we're coming up. Let's see. Can I see milepost 10 yet? There it is. So we're going to be coming up to Summit here in about mile or so from where we are right now, and that's when we're going to see if the dynamics can hold this. DPU communication, hopefully that will go away. It's not flashing yet. Okay, there we go. This one I played what was the name of the route? The Roseville sub, which is not a lot of people like it, and I can see why, because it's basically you put it in Notch 8 and you just run. There's a whole lot of restrictions on how they do train makeup, and it's not for the reasons that you think. It largely has to do with radio communication. You lose radio contact with your GPU, with your DPUs, and you can't have more than 8,000. I think it's 8,000 feet between your lead locomotive and your relay, and it's primarily because of DPU communication. You lose contact with the rear, or you lose contact with your EOT. So I actually need to do a video on that one, because some of the operations that are up there are really interesting, including the whole deal with the snow sheds, and they've got modeled the old line that goes around, is it Mount Judah? And then the new line that goes through the middle of it, the big tunnel, the big hole. It would be nice if, at some point, if they keep expanding on this, if they get this line expanded over into Kentucky, where it goes into the rat hole and that whole mess down in there. This is some of the trickiest railroading that's still left in the country. It's just up and down through the mountains and whatnot. I've been up there. It's that whole area of southwestern Pennsylvania, northwestern Maryland, and southeastern West Virginia and Kentucky. That whole corner there, Pennsyltucky, I think is what everybody used to call it. I mean, it's some of the worst mountains, worst hilly terrain on the East Coast, and there's railroads running all through it. Just huge mountains. It's not the Rockies, but I mean, it's a lot of rough railroading up there. I mean, we had our average grade was it was right at 2%, and then we had a short spot where it goes up to about 3. but it's an old road bed. This was back before they could really um, before they had better technology to cut and to lay track better. I mean, because some of that stuff, I mean, it's a noticeable difference. Switchbacks all over the place, places where switchbacks used to be, just really kind of crazy. All right, so I'm gonna call that summit. We're gonna start slowing down, and we are 4,500 in length. Once we get, I don't know, not quite a third of the way there, we want to be in dynamics. I don't want to put too much strain on the train. And just looking to make sure we're not going to break anything. We do want it to slow down on its own some. So we'll coast here about 14 or so. I'm just kind of watching the accelerometer. I don't want to get too carried away with it, because here in just a second it's going to start picking up. So we'll just cruise, and we're still pushing up the other end. And the reason why I'm wanting to wait is because I don't want to put the fence up. I want them both to go. I want everything to go into dynamic at once, and I don't want too much of the train on the backside of the hill. Because if we're still climbing up the hill with too much of the train on the other side, we can snap it in half. That's almost half. There's half. Dynamics. And I'm waiting. It's I know that it's picking up speed fast, but I'm trying to not bust the train in half. But we're gonna bust the speed just a little bit. And we're enough over the top so I can start backing off now. Put her in full. Wait for the rear TPUs to grab it. Everything's over. Let's just check here. But we're not bad. .3. I want to get it down to about 15 before I start backing off. Alright, while that's settling itself out, let's roll up. We're going past milepost 8, so let's roll up to here. Now I haven't put any air on it, because that's sort of my, because I'm not running the retainers. There's no detector up here, but I don't want to, I'm just kind of playing it like I would in real life. It's like the dynamics are holding it. It's like right there on the verge of it. The worst thing that could happen right now is if you bust a grid, if you melt a dynamic grid down. Has happened to me before. I don't want it. The air's there in case I need it. I'm gonna rely 100% on dynamics, even though yeah, we're wide open. Failures are set to on, and I'll actually prove it to you. Let's see here. Oops. Where is it? Locomotive failure chance is set to often. So there is a possibility that I could have a dynamic brake grid fail, DPU could fail, any number of things. I've got 100% of my air there. I haven't used any of it. So if I do have an issue, I've got air. That's why they want you to set the retainers, because you don't have to go into 100% dynamic to control your speed. You can let the air work, but roll the dice a little bit. I mean, we're 2.6% now. And I'm already backed off of my dynamics a little bit, so I think we'll be alright. But yeah, I have had, it of all things that happened, happened on a check ride when I was actually doing a check ride for another engineer. We were coming down a hill, and he was in dynamics. He actually wasn't that deep in dynamics either. I think he was doing blended, I can't remember. But we weren't going that fast, and he wasn't that deep in dynamics, and I'm over on the left side, he's running, and I can't remember if it was a flash or if I heard something, but I look behind me and there's like sparks falling down out of the grid. And I just look over at him and I said, "Well, there's your dynamics gone." He looked at me and said, "What?" I said, "Your grid just burned up." I said, "You're gonna have to bring it the rest of the way on air." He's like, God, what did he say to me? He's like, "You think?" Because we weren't on the steepest part of the railroad, but it was, I think we were up like 1 3/4, something like that. We were on one of the steeper parts. He looks over at me and he's like, "You think you can hit?" He said, "You think that it'll be all right?" And I said, "Well," I said, "it's not ideal, because it was a couple miles. I think we were something like 6 or 7 miles out, and I said it's not ideal because we're using passenger cars, and it's a mix. So there's disc brakes and clasp style. That it's not ideal." I said, "But," I said, "slow down." I said, "Don't worry about maintaining track speed." I said, "Slow your speed down." Crossing the edge. I said, don't worry about track speed." I said, "Slow your speed down like 5 miles an hour or something like that." I said, "Use that speed." And I said, "If you need to," I said, "use your locomotive brake just a little bit." And that's basically what he did. Because there's some spots in the railroad where you're going downhill and then it kind of levels out. And I mean, he said, "Well, what I'll do is I'll use the air going down." And he says, "When we get up here to mile mark or whatever it was," he said, "it'll level out a little bit." And he says, "I'll knock the automatic off, use the independent to kind of keep the speed under control, let the train line charge back up, and then do it again on the other side." And that's what we did, and it worked. It happened, and it happened like that. He had dynamics, and then he didn't have dynamics, and of all things, it was on his check ride. And I told him afterwards. I said, "Well, you passed that one." That it could not plan it better if I tried. I actually need to change those sounds over too. I haven't done it yet. I thought I had changed them, but apparently I haven't. And I think every time I update this game, I'll tell you here in a second. No, they're the right ones. Yeah, they're the right ones. But the air brake sounds are not the right ones. They're not the ones that I'm used to. Let me back off here, and we'll ride the brakes a little bit. I don't want this to get too slow. But yeah, that was a fun trip. Because I walked back there and I looked at the grid, and I mean, it was still glowing red. This was like 20-30 minutes later, it was still just glowing red. And I was like, yep, that one's toast. It happens. They get old, they get fatigued, the resistors in them. It's a wear part. They get to the point where either the insulator burns out or one of the connections burn out, and then you just don't have any dynamics. I've heard a lot of engineers talk about it too. They'd be like, this was back in the older days, you'd be running along and then dynamics just go out, and it's like, what do you do? Well, hey, ain't nothing you can do. Hope you got enough in the other units, or you got plenty of air. I mean, if you're stuck on the side of a mountain, there's not a whole lot you can do. That's why when they were running Saluda, there was such a... I mean, the video's out there. You can look at the procedures that they had to use to go over Saluda grade. It's pretty crazy. I mean, they were... Yes, I know there was a crossing. It's marked as private, so I'm going to leave it be. They had a very specific procedure that they had to follow to get trains down the mountain, and it's because of, if you have a failure on Saluda, you are in pucker string territory. That's why they finally came up with the turnouts, the emergency turnout, which is basically, if you look at the what do they call them? They have a specific name. They're on the highways. If you're up in really mountainous terrain, I know there's a lot of them down here, but if you're in like really mountainous terrain and there's this emergency ramp, and it basically turns off of the highway on the downhill side, and it goes straight up, and it's usually got sand barriers and everything else. That's what they're for. And it came from the emergency turnout at Saluda, and they had photo sensors and everything, and they could tell if the train was going too fast, and if it was, it automatically... I think the failsafe was that switch was always lined for the turnout, and once the train went past the speed sensor, if it could detect that you were if you were under that speed, it would line it straight. I'm going to keep those on, and we'll switch over to this, and I'm going to roll up my warrant because we're getting ready to go past number 5. Let's do the roll up here, even though technically we are still occupying the block behind us. I'm passing number 5. And I'll just actually wait till I get past it. And there is that. And we roll up to that one, and we are almost home free. But this hasn't been too terribly bad. Go ahead and knock the brakes off because we're down to a 1%. Let them start cooling off. And we'll go a little bit deeper in dynamics. Actually, I should probably... This is one of the things we can check in run 8. 99. Okay, so they didn't get too hot. 93. 93. Yeah, 95. We didn't, I mean, we were barely on them. I just had a minimum. So we did pretty good. We get this speed up here. Now, one of the things that is working in our favor is we only have 78 loads behind us. If we had 100, it'd be a little bit different story. We'd actually be, well, no, we'd be legal. If they were all the same car, we'd still be legal. We'd still have 140. But the train would definitely handle a little bit differently. And if I had to do it again when we were going over Summit, I would probably put the fence up. I just didn't want to mess with it because that gets tricky, and I haven't done it in a while. I'm trying to remember everything. Yeah, we did overspeed a little bit, but we never got above 25. So we're not, I mean, it wasn't that big of a thing. And Star Territory too. I mean, they've got event recorders on here, but I mean, I never lost control of the train. That would work in my favor. That's the main thing is if you do go over speed, don't dump your air, don't panic. It's like, okay, I'm over speed, need to get it under control, and the main thing is to keep it under control. So you don't want 10,000 tons of train and an engineer that's flustered, that's completely lost track of everything he's doing, barreling down the railroad. Okay, so 4 will bring us up to JK, our crossovers, and I actually need to go up here and look because I can't remember. St. Michael. When we get to JK, it's not very far. This is where we're heading, so we're not too far. And I think it all won't fit on here, and since there's no trains coming, we're gonna do what is prototypical, and I want to make sure I got this switch lined. That's straight. And yes, I know that there is a speed restriction coming up. Alright. We need to go this way. Yeah, because that's the yard lead. And we want to go... Oops. Yeah, that's lined. Make sure this switch is lined. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to stop right here. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to go on up here. Here. We're going to spot it on CPW, which is prototypical as I understand it. Perfect. Alright, so in about a mile or so, we're going to have to slow down. Got plenty. I guess I should probably look in. Oh yeah, there's 6 down. We're fine. I think I've talked about retainers before, the settings for them, the direct release, low pressure retain, high pressure retain, and slow direct. So the low pressure, I think the way it's set up on here is 10 pounds. So basically you set up your train line, you do a brake application, and then you can do a release. And if you're set to low pressure, if you're set to LP, it retains 10 pounds of pressure in your brake pipe. And I can't remember the time frame. It's 3 minutes or something like that, or 30 seconds. It's been so long since I've had to use retainers. You can use high pressure, which is 20 pounds, which is what it actually recommends for this route. That's what the rules say. Or you can do slow direct, which is, it releases, but it releases gradually over a shorter time frame. That's why I can't remember if it's 3 minutes or 30 seconds. I think that one will release down to 0 over 30 seconds. I want to say that the other two are designed to hold that for 3 minutes. Some of the old stuff that I used to work with, I think they only had 2 settings. Well, they had 3. It would have been direct. I don't remember if they had the slow direct or not. I think they just had low and high. I can't remember. It's been years since I've seen those valves. We never used them. Matter of fact, I think it was in our rule book not to use them. .2%, and then I forget what it is when we get to South Fork. So I'm going to go ahead and do this kind of off camera. I'm going to roll up my warrant to 4, because that's where we are. And then once I get to JK, I'll show you how I have to move my train over. There you see there's JK right there. This is 100% about train control. That is like the hardest part of being an engineer, is learning how to read what a train's doing. And I talked about this years and years ago. Train handling is felt through your butt. You can tell somebody how to run a train all day long. It is through the seat of your pants that you will figure out what a train actually needs to do, what it's going to do, because you can feel the acceleration. It's almost like driving to a certain extent, but it's different when you've got so much more weight behind you. You can feel when the train's accelerating, when it's decelerating, when the worst feeling is when a train's neutral, which is where it's just kind of coasting, when you don't feel anything because it feels like you're about to fall off the edge of a cliff. And that's happened to me a couple times, but generally speaking, it's different now because you don't. Let me think of how to say this. You don't necessarily run trains anymore. Why is that switch? Why is that switch lined against us? I haven't thrown any switches since I've been. That's weird. I literally just took this train up yesterday, so I don't know why that switch was lined backwards. Unless I did something and just forgot. But like nowadays, you don't. They've got trip optimizers and PTC and all this other mess on these locomotives. It's basically you're there to blow the horn. You get in it, it's already like pre-programmed what your route is, where you're going, tells the dispatcher and everything. You basically get in there, you put it in Notch 8 and you go. I don't even think you have to do dynamics anymore. I'm sure it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's almost like flying a plane now. It's programmed in what your route is on one of these monitors, which, yeah, this one doesn't have it. The little, I think the Dash 8s have it. The map here, it shows you. It's kind of like what we've got up here. It shows you track profile, signals. I think it shows you any trains that are up ahead of you. Which it's, don't get me wrong, it's a lot safer than it used to be, because anytime you can have more tools at your disposal to actually see everything, but it is a bit of a lost art. I mean, a lot of short lines still use the older equipment that doesn't have all that stuff built into it, so you actually do have to run the way you used to run back in the old days. But it's getting to be a lost art. Big railroads don't want you to use air, and there's reasons for that. It's not just a money thing. They're trying to save money on brake shoes. It's actually safer, because if you get an engineer that gets overzealous with the air, you can run out, cause all kinds of problems. But they don't use air anymore. Just like I said, PTC and all that, it's become a lost art of how to actually run a train these days. So let me transition over to this, and let me go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this train from here to JK, so that it can see that if anybody else was on here, they can see that. I don't know if you can see the cursor or not, where it says move there. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to clear this warrant, and it's just giving me a pop-up here, and I'll do a screen capture one day so you can see all this, but it's just giving me, and I'll just read off what it says to you. Report clear warrant, track authority number 6000 to 571 at 0830. Box 2 proceed from JK to JK on main track. Track authority number 6000 has 1 box is marked. Dispatcher POO, which is me, copied by Oleander, and report time clear is 0639. I don't know why it's saying 0639, because it's not. I need to check that out. So, just stick it in there. And all crew members agree that they are clear of the limits of warrant number 6000. Limits reported clear at 0640 by Oleander, and that is correct. And there you go. We are reported clear, track's clear. We're going to be sitting down here at JK. We're actually going to go out onto the single track. If we look here, right there where it says single track, that's where we're heading. And you can see that I think that's actually showing. It's just showing that there's a switch thrown. But yeah, we're going to be down here on the single track. And then basically we'll go through and you would go, I'll send it AI to send it on back towards Baltimore. Which is where this train is going, is Baltimore, I believe. Which train am I? 571? No, this train goes, is this 571 or 570? I just realized that I didn't switch you back over because you couldn't see what I was doing. I'm going here. Just single track, that's where we're gonna stage. That's just showing that there's a thing there. What train number am I? Am I 571? I should be this should be 570. This should be 570. That's what it is. I don't know why I tagged it as 570 and I'm just now realizing that, but that should be this train should be number 570. This goes to, I don't even remember where this one goes. 577 goes to Lambert Point. This one, I can't even remember now. Stand by. It looks like this one goes to Reading. So yeah, this is going. It has to go through Altoona, and that might be wrong. These are older symbols. I had to sit down for probably about 2 hours yesterday and go through and try and wrap my head back around Norfolk Southern signaling or train symbols, because it's an older system. It makes sense if you use it every day, but when you get used to running, you know, M bar back or SBD, LAC, SBD, whatever, when you get used to running those where you just have to look at it at a glance, it gets a little difficult. It gets difficult to go back and get used to that stuff. So we're on flat track. So yeah, it's a little bit of a learning curve to get back used to it, which I've talked about it in Railroader too. The classification system that I'm using in Railroader is I think it's based off of the old Southern system, which again, it makes sense. The first number denoted the division. It's actually the first two. The first one denoted a division, the second one denoted this, and then that, and it just, like I said, if you're not used to it, it's kind of it's hard to remember it all. So we're going to come out, we're going to go past this approach. And then we're going to go on down to CP, I can't even remember now. Is it on CPW? Go down to CPW and park this train. Start our counter so that I know whenever I'm off. We're gonna have have to start climbing here in just a minute. I can go ahead and turn the mileposts off. Dynamics are off on the DPUs to let them get my speed up a little bit. We're sort of in that neutral territory where the train, it's neutral right now. It's where it doesn't want to speed up and it doesn't want to slow down. It's just kind of coasting along. That's why the accelerometer is sitting there going back and forth. But we can probably go ahead and switch over. And we'll go easy. And there went the slack. It's one of the things I like about this game is that you can, that's actually the reason why I keep the window open a little bit, because I can actually hear what the train's doing. In real life, if you were sitting in the seat, you could actually feel it tug on you. And on some locomotives in this game, when the slack runs out, you can actually see, the SD40s especially, if it's got an analog speedometer with just the needle, you can actually see the needle bounce, and that's what they do in real life. You'll see the needle bounce back a little bit every time that the slack rolls out if it's close to the engine. So I'm gonna pull my outpost up right now. Again, this is a long track, but I want to know when I'm getting close to CPW, because this is the first time I've actually come out onto it. I want to say once we get the entire train off of this, the speed limit's going to go up to 30. Let's see. 265. What is 264.6? So okay, we got about a little over half a mile. As I say it comes in the clear. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I knew I was getting close. I didn't want to get too carried away with speed, because I was thinking that it might be like right here around this curve. I still can't see the signal. But it's gonna be like right there. Like legit, we go around this curve here, it's gonna be just a little bit up there on the left or on the right. Turn up a little bit. One of the other reasons that I don't, Usually whenever I play this game, I've usually got something playing in the background, like either a video or something. And that's, I've thought about doing just ride-alongs, but the problem is that I'm usually either listening to something while I'm doing it, so it makes it hard because I don't want to capture that audio on here. Um, I probably am going to do more videos where I'm just doing stuff and not necessarily talking like I used to do, but I have to kind of see. It'll depend on how things work out. So we're almost off the switch now. Should be, there's the signals. And I think I told you guys wrong. I'm using DB Reshade, that's what it is. I said Coyote, which he had one. That one. Which it's okay, but it, to me, everything's a little bit too whitewashed. I actually like this one a lot better. Alright, so notch 2. Go ahead and slow down to notch 1 because we're going uphill. This should stop fairly quick. I can go ahead and turn that off so I can see the signals. As I understand it, the procedure is you get up here to CPW, tie down. This would be the local crew coming back, which that was one of the things that I was going to talk about. I actually had an opportunity to not work here specifically. It was when I was in Georgia. Work for a company that basically took Norfolk Southern locomotives. NS would bring the train in. The mine had a balloon track, and basically they would run the cars through the flood loader, and it actually paid pretty decent money. I want to say it was over $30 an hour. I didn't do it because the thought of having to sit in that locomotive for 8 hours and going, I think it was 3 or 5 miles an hour. I was like, I would go absolutely insane doing that 8 hours a day. It's like, yeah. It's a non-union job. You were basically running Norfolk Southern locomotives. It would have been an easy gig, but I don't think it lasted very long because the power plant that they were supplying, and that was the other thing that played into me not going, was the power plant that it was supplying was going to be shut down. I'm just trying to stretch the train out a little bit. It should already be stretched, but I just want to make sure. Alright. Headlight off. Tootin' the poot. And we're in center. We'll go ahead and put 20 pounds on it. And that's that. And I'll go ahead and set handbrakes. Look at there, it's already done. And that is it. We made it down and didn't kill anybody, and that in my book is a successful day. So 100-car coal train. Every time I say that, I think about that Jerry Clower story about the oh man, what was the name of it? Was it Marcel and the Possum? Something like that. Hunts a possum, stops a 100-car banana train, or as Jerry Clower would say it, 100-car banana train, asking them if they want to buy a possum. So I have to do some work on Auto because I thought it was set up originally, but apparently it's not. auto is supposed to, like, if I tag, and I have to go back and look through the files, I think it's C48 and C something else. The way that it's described in the stuff for this is like this train here would come up to here as 571. Then it would be re-tagged, and if you read through the stuff for that came with the secondary, it's like the AI automatically does that, or the AI is supposed to know to do that. Well, I sent a train up here that was tagged with one of those numbers, and auto just sent it off the map. It didn't know to send it here, so I've got to go in and work on that. But basically the procedure is they'll come in, bring them up here to South Fork. This yard seems small, even though there's what, 5 tracks here. These 4 tracks will only hold about 25 or 30 cars apiece. So basically a 100-car train fits all right here, and then you have to break it down and build it back together. So it's, the procedure needs to be rewritten for it. But that is the 570. I'm actually going to go up here and retag this one now that I'm thinking about it. Did it? Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I think I had the industry set right. This one needs to be 570. Okay. So that is the extent of that. That is 570 down the mountain. And I guess I will see everyone next time around.